Zenless Zone Zero just had their pre-release special program, or otherwise known as a live stream, and they released a ton of information that you may or may not have known, but I really want to talk about the specifics and why some of the things they talked about are very important, and I mean really important. In today's video, I'm going over everything major that you might have missed in the Zenless Zone Zero live stream. First up are going to be changes to the story. According to Mr. Lee and Dewey, ZZZ's story elements have undergone some significant changes. The skip button, thanks Sephiroth, is fully implemented in the game across all stories now. We also know from this article that held an interview with Mr. Lee, they've adapted a great approach at telling the story to potentially be always impactful. Due to there not being an overarching in-the-world type of plot, it really allows for a stronger storytelling per series, just like comic books or Love, Death, and Robots, whichever you're familiar with. So while every form of combat will happen in the Hollows, every story won't be revolved around them. Anyone getting Digital World from Digimon vibes? No? Just me? All right, next we can talk about the characters, and from the last two betas, any of us who have been following the game knew about this character named Miyabi, a fox-eared samurai dressed in a green robe, and she was absolutely broken in the first beta. Unfortunately, we haven't seen her since. That is until today's live stream along with her full faction. It seems like they're doing a whole Edo era based, having a combination of ninja, kunoichi, and samurai style combat. And for me, that's sick as fork. Along with Miyabi's faction, we're getting a glance at so many other characters like Zuyon's faction, who is the second limited character coming to Zenless, meaning these factions are now locked in and ready to release. It also seems like most official factions come in fours, giving us a safe reason to assume characters will be introduced in pairs close to one another in order to spread out the hype between them. This could also mean that teams won't see their full potential outside of Ellen's maid squad until a few patches down the road. This is great for free to play because if that is the case, it allows all of you to efficiently save up for the perfect teams. Mr. Y, the gameplay director, also announced 2 new agents coming into the game on launch. 2 might seem small, but from the looks of how these characters play, each of them bring a lot to the table in terms of gameplay, team combos, and unique mechanics specific to them. Those 2 characters being Lucy and Piper. Let's start with Piper, who seems to be a physical shredding type agent, focusing on anomaly buildup. And for those that don't know, anomaly is basically your elemental status of the game. Things like poison, burn, freeze, shock, etc. If you've played Pokemon, it's exactly like that, except you need to inflict the enemy with a certain amount of X anomaly before it triggers. Now, why physical is so important is because now Nekomata has an amazing new partner that not only does possible stun, but also builds up physical anomaly crazy fast. And I'm letting you guys know this now, that Assault, the physical status element in the game, is one of the most wicked anomalies in the game. I mean, like, I really want to tell you borderline broken, but let me test it first, or rather, let me test it on live. Next up was Lucy, who is a supportive fire type agent with a bat. It doesn't seem like they showed much of her in this trailer, and for good reason. She's the first character that buffs every agent on the field. That's huge for team building, and if my fighting game instincts are correct, she also has some type of minion combat system built into her kit. There's a moment where she home runs one of her pig bang boos on top of the enemy's head, but if you pay attention to when she swaps into Piper, those pigs are still on the screen. Could it be possible she'll have some cool off-field minion type mechanics like Jacko from Guilty Gear? I don't know about you, but I'm excited to see that. We also got an official look at Zuyon and Ellen, our first 2 limited banner characters, and based on the last beta, will be the strongest characters in the game. Not just because of outright damage, but because their entire kit is based around movement, unique dodge counterattacks, and exclusive to them, meter gauge attack mechanics. And I guess speaking of mechanics, now I can talk about the combat section of the live stream. From my own experience, as well as a few others, ZZZ's combat was stuck in between satisfyingly exciting and dull. How that happens, I'm not entirely too sure, but Mr. Lee and the development team took our feedback to heart and allegedly refined a lot of the combat mechanics, both universally and character specific, in order to try reaching a better balance of details and performance. From what I can see, they did not add manual mode back, which really sucks, but whatever. For my casual players, this doesn't matter, but for those of us like myself who were intrigued by the combo and tag out system in the game, it just looks like we're SOL here and are now forced to trigger chain attacks, regardless of if we wanted to or not. Maybe with some testing sometime this week, we'll find some new tech to overcome that, but as of right now, I don't know. Following up with that, Zenless's target here seems to be a low barrier of entry and a high skill ceiling. meaning it's easy to pick up but has a large amount of potential to explore. I knew this was true the moment we discovered Nicole has secret fighting game inputs back in CBT2, and I'm hoping even more characters have secret or cool features to explore that really shake up the player base between who wants to have fun with the combat and the casual players who just want to watch the action. Around the middle of the live stream, we also got some huge news about Bang Boos, the minion system of this game, but if you're familiar with Honkai Impact 3rd, then think of elves from that game. During CBT2, Bang Boos were a part of the character and weapon banners, which we all hated. It was horrible receiving an A rank Bang Boo multiple times instead of a character or a weapon. Now in CBT3, they changed it so that Bang Boos had their own banner, but at that time it felt oddly pay to win. No one could spend money during CBT3, so of course no one can prove that, but on the opposite side of that, there wasn't an outright message that said Bang Boos cannot be purchased. Now Hoyoverse has never had a free quote unquote banner before, but as of today, Mr. Y let us all know that Bang Boos will be absolutely free. They've also doubled the amount of currency required to pull on the banner through consistent events, weekly rewards, and gifts. While that may not seem like a big deal to those of you who didn't play ZZZ up to about mid-game, it's big for everyone in total. Bang Boos have some insanely busted abilities and buffs, meaning at some point or another, they will become a part of the meta. It's great that now, everyone has the option to get the strongest Digimon-like gear in the game for free. And it's funny too, because Dwayne definitely joked about not liking the idea of giving away so many powerful assets for free. And like in my notes, I wrote LOL, so I'm laughing out loud, but like obviously you can't hear it, so just pretend that I laughed out loud. Oh, and then I forgot to mention the fact that these are 100% guaranteed banners. There is no 50-50. If you're pulling for a particular Bang Boo, the moment you see gold, it's going to be that Bang Boo. Now, if only they could change the weapon banner to be 100%. The next segment of the stream is briefly going over New Eridu, aka the world. For the last 3 betas, we've been limited on what and where we can explore in New Eridu, but as of now, all of that has changed. Mr. Y showed us that an enormous update is hitting us on launch, and that during the beta, we've only seen under half of what this one specific area has to offer. And to me, that's crazy to think about because New Eridu isn't the only place you can visit. There were like 4 other areas you could traverse, and now there seems to be so much more of an RPG feel built into the full release of the game. Persona-like hangouts to increase your social rank with different agents, full-on transportation systems, brand new story and character events with a lot more. It seems like they were really holding back on us during every beta so far. From that point, we can jump into the major gameplay updates. Hollow Zero, one of ZZZ's permanent in-game modes, now has its own entire overworld to explore that's a part of the entire world. Hollow Zero now also has what looks like its own battle pass. I'm adding a question mark here. It's called a license level, and based on previous Hoyo games, this could be reset rewards every patch or permanent rewards that are updated with levels as time goes on. And for my comic book fiends, Hollow Zero now has its own lore, as well as lore about the rest of the world, along with an improved Rezonia system, which is the roguelike features of Hollow Zero. You can also use Hollow Zero to try out any Bang Boo that you want for free before deciding on which Digimon you actually want to pick. And I know a lot of you didn't get to endgame in the beta or even see the boss, but it looks like they improved the intensity of this Flower Lady boss and even gave us new UI updates. If you look closely, enemies now have round indicators near their health bar that tells you how much anomaly is built up and which statuses are implanted. The UI also looks a bit sharper. On top of this, Mr. Y spoke about how this flower boss wasn't the only enemy seeing upgrades. So far, they've worked on creating more challenging enemies, areas, stages, and combat scenarios, all for launch, with more to come per patch. According to them, they plan to continue to evolve the high intensity of the gameplay that ZZZ can provide in the game. Then finally, we can end this video off with the free stuff. 100 free pulls for what I'm assuming is the standard banner, and 80 for the Bang Boos, which guarantees an S rank from both of them. Now, the real question about this is whether or not these are completely separate free pulls on top of the 200 plus pulls Jackson showed us in his chart. If it's the latter, that means we're getting over a combination of 300 plus pulls for standard and limited banner with a guaranteed S rank Bang Boo of your choice. If this isn't the case, then it's going to be a little strange for the free-to-play players, since you guys really need to pay attention to what you're building and spending pulls on. but unfortunately, I gotta save that for another video. As of now, the ZZZ dev team really looks like they care about building up the game to be as hype as it can be while delivering to its target audience. I'll know more on that once the game officially launches, but it seems like they picked their audience with that quote from earlier, a low barrier entry with a high skill ceiling. Guys, let me know how you enjoyed today's video and how do you feel about all of these changes and updates coming to Zenless Zone Zero? And are they enough to make you try the game fully, or have you already passed it off? I'm probably not even gonna lie to you, and I'm still gonna play the, I almost said a bad word. I'm gonna play the fork out of this game, bro, because Ellen is in the game and I like Ellen and Shark Girls, so it is what it is. I can't say my usual outro because it's inappropriate for YouTube. Smell you later.